Welcome back to the Patrick DiBello podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever this podcast finds you. I hope you're doing well. All you athletes out there, I hope your training is going well. I had a really good workout today. Heavy leg day, max strength. Did some heavy B stance RDLs, followed it up with some very heavy bilateral RDLs. Did some hamstrings, used a newer piece of equipment that my gym has. It is a machine back extension, which is super cool because I do weighted back extensions on the old school back extension chair or apparatus, if you will. It's not really a machine, but the new machine is indeed a machine. So I do weighted back extensions. I usually hold a plate to my chest. You hinge down, you lift back up. This new machine my gym got, you reach down to the bottom and you grab a handle. And so you're doing the extension up and down with constant tension from the machine, and it's awesome. My gym has gotten a lot of really cool pieces of equipment lately that I'm trying to put to use. So had a really good lower body day, hit the treadmill for some zone 2 and some steps because I am participating in my 10K a day step challenge with my group. Shout out to all of the challenge participants. If you're listening, I see you and I appreciate you. I am doing my steps on a treadmill incline around 12 to 15% because I am 10 weeks away from the first Spartan race of the year for me. And I want to be a master at climbing inclines. I really want to make incline walking just as easy as flat walking. I've mentioned this before. Historically, climbing those mountains during a Spartan race with crazy inclines, with or without weight, has just beat me up. And no matter who you are, it's going to take a lot out of you. Your heart rate is going to spike. Your legs are going to burn. So I am making sure that that's not the case this year. I am doing a lot of incline runs, a lot of power hike workouts. I call them Sisyphus workouts. If you don't know what Sisyphus is, Google it. That's how I program a lot of my incline runs with that theme, which just makes it super fun. But I figured since I'm doing the 10K steps with the group, I might as well make those 30 to 60 minute sessions incline sessions to just condition myself for walking up an incline as much as humanly possible. I want to make those inclines a breeze. I want that to be easy. Yes, my heart rate's going to go up, but I want to be able to control it. I want to be able to sustain it. So I'm 10 weeks out from my first event, prioritizing incline runs, prioritizing lifting heavy, prioritizing running on tired legs, prioritizing picking things up and picking things down. I'd say in maybe 6 weeks, I'll start to do some obstacle-specific training in the form of medleys, where I'm doing more, let's say, running out 1/10 of a mile of my house, running back, hit some pull-ups, run out 1/10 of a mile, run back, do some burpees, things like that. But for now, the focus is on getting stronger and incline walking and running. If it was nice out, I would be in the mountains, running up mountains, climbing up hills, but it's pretty rough out here in the Northeast, so I am doing a lot of treadmill incline workouts until I can get outside. So for now, treadmill incline workouts. I do think I'm going to join a run club on Tuesday mornings, and when I say join, I think I'm just going to pop in every once in a while just to get some community, just to be able to run with some people. I do have a couple running partners that I go out with here and there, but I think it'd be cool to run with a group of people, and they happen to go to my favorite bagel restaurant in Syracuse after the run. So I love Water Street Bagel. They run about 6 miles on Tuesday morning, and then they go eat bagels, which is literally what I live for, running and eating. So I think I'm going to add that into my routine. But yeah, 10 weeks out, training hard, training strong. I hope you are doing the same. On the subject of training and new equipment at my gym just got the new, well, it's new to them, but the treadmills that you move yourself, the Woodway Rogue treadmill, basically when you run on it, you're powering the belt, which is awesome and also brutally terrible. I talked a couple weeks ago on my podcast about treadmills not necessarily being easier than running on the road. That just because the belt is spinning doesn't mean that you aren't applying power and having to work to maintain that speed. But I will say these Woodway treadmills are pretty difficult. So I usually take a little bit of time off of my pace if I'm going to do the Woodway instead of run outside or run on a regular propelled treadmill. A couple of reasons. Those treadmills have a little bit of an incline. So the belt goes up and it's kind of mimicking like a 3 to 4% incline. So it is inherently harder just by that alone. The other thing is, when you're on a treadmill that's propelling itself where the belt keeps spinning, there's a moment when you're running that both feet are off the ground and the treadmill keeps going. When you land, yes, you have to apply force and use power to continue to run, otherwise you're going to fall off. When you are using a Woodway treadmill or a self-propelled treadmill, that belt stops. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't stop. It slows down. If you ever run on a treadmill, this is actually a fun little test to do. If you run on a treadmill, video yourself from the side. And then you can take screenshots or you can pause the video at points of your stride where both feet are not touching the ground. And you can even do this just watching YouTube videos of professional runners, Olympic runners, Kenyan runners, people who literally run in their sleep. There is a point where both of your feet are not touching the ground. On a powered treadmill, the belt keeps going. So your feet hit it and you have to apply power and you continue to move. On the self-propelled treadmills, when both feet are off the ground, the treadmill starts to slow down. So when you hit that mill again, you have to apply power to get it moving and keep it moving. So that's one reason why it makes it more difficult. There's no free ride during the float phase. And that's what I would say about like a powered treadmill is you almost get a little bit of a free ride during the float phase. That doesn't happen with the Woodway treadmills. One thing that happens with the Woodway treadmills is it allows a more natural gait during acceleration and deceleration. So that's a huge pro. I would say there's probably more pros than cons. There's a lot of pros to a treadmill like that. There's probably a few cons, but it does just feel like hell. Like you feel like a strong runner, and then you go on that treadmill and you try and run at the same pace that you just ran last week with the same workout, and it just thrashes your legs. So part of that is to do with the lack of free ride. Part of it is to do with the inherent like little curve, pseudo incline, but nonetheless a great tool to use. Just like I said a couple weeks ago, treadmills in general are a great tool to use. So if you have an opportunity to try one of those out, I highly recommend you do so. If you listened to the podcast last week, you might know what's coming, or at least have an idea of what's coming. Last week I did the S tier for performance for athleticism. This week I'm going to talk about health, and I'm going to do S tier topics, but spoiler alert, all of these are S tiers. I actually had to be a little bit, I put a few in the F tier, but I had to think about them. There are things that I wouldn't even talk about normally. I just wanted to have an F tier. So I'm just going to bring these things up and kind of shit on them, to be completely frank. But as far as I'm concerned, everything that you do for your health is an S tier choice. So to me, it wasn't worth breaking these down between S, A, B, because when it comes to health, the most important thing above all, more important than performance, more important than aesthetics, it's health. So these are all S tier things that I strongly believe everybody should be doing. Everybody should be prioritizing these things. The reason that there's a difference in this tier group of topics and what I'm going to do next episode, the fat loss tiers, is because when it comes to nutrition specifically, you can lose body fat and be in a calorie deficit without really being that healthy. And there is an argument to be made for somebody who is extremely overweight and obese, that even if they are losing weight while eating junk food, the fact that they are getting into a healthier body weight means that they are healthy or healthier. But the two are not the same. There are things that everybody should be doing for their overall health. And then there are some things that like you could do while losing body fat. Like technically you could eat a Big Mac every single day and lose body fat. And while I'm somebody who believes and knows for a fact that you could have a Big Mac every couple of months or a couple times a year and still be healthy, you're not healthy if you're eating a Big Mac every single day. Now, I have a friend who actually did a challenge years ago where he ate a Big Mac every single day to prove that you can lose weight while eating something that's unhealthy. But this is about being healthy and eating a Big Mac every single day. I don't care if you're losing weight while you do it. It's not healthy. I support people eating, cheat foods, things that people deem unhealthy, but in moderation. And a Big Mac every day is not in moderation. So my friend did it to prove a point. I respect it. I appreciate it. It was a cool YouTube video, cool topic. But we are talking about straight up health. Things that you can and should do to improve your health. First and foremost, on the subject of food, it's nutrition. We need to be eating healthful, nutrient-dense foods. The vast majority of your diet should be whole, nutrient-dense foods. And I'm talking 90% of the foods you eat should be healthy foods. You could argue that we could push that to 80%. That's probably healthier than a vast majority of the world. But I would argue that if 90% of the food that you eat every single day is healthful, nutrient-dense foods, then you'll be fine if 10% of that, the remaining 10% is what people will call cheat food or unhealthy food. So we're talking whole foods most of the time. I hate saying like single ingredient foods because I feel like that's a real privilege for somebody to say, like, you should only be eating foods with one ingredient. That's such a privileged thing to say because most people don't have access to single ingredient foods all the time. But we should be trying to eat a diet that is heavy, and I am leaning into heavy in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low fat to no fat dairy, lean protein. That's what your diet should be made up of. And on the subject of fat loss, when that's what most of your diet is, it's actually hard to gain weight for a lot of people. If you live an active life and you eat foods that are mainly fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low fat to non-fat dairy, and lean protein, you have to eat a shitload of that food to gain weight. That's why people who are super active that burn a lot of calories in the day have a hard time putting on weight because they probably eat really healthy. they eat low-calorie, nutrient-dense foods, and those are the healthiest foods, no matter what you think. So those are the foods that I would focus on for health, including foods that are going to be good for your gut health, which I don't talk about ever, but gut health is super important, especially as we get older. The things that we didn't have to worry about when we were younger, we should probably start to prioritize. So fermented foods like kimchi and kombucha can be a very good addition into your diet for gut health. I highly recommend that. Find something that you really enjoy. We're very blessed here on the Northeast. Wegmans has a couple of good flavors of each of those products that my wife and I regularly eat. So if you want to prioritize some gut health, get some fermented foods like kimchi, like kombucha, and yogurt, things like that. Even sauerkraut is great. So if you can find ways to implement those foods into your diet, that is going to be S tier health. S tier for your health. Next, you already know. You know what podcast you're listening to. This is the Patrick DiBello podcast. We are fit, we are healthy, we move, and we love it. Exercise is number 2. I'm talking strength training and cardio. I don't give a shit what people are talking about as far as the best form of exercise to lose body fat. We are talking about health, and when push comes to shove, if you want to be healthy, you need a balance of strength training and you need a balance of cardio. Cardio is for heart health, not for burning calories, not for losing body fat. Strength training to build muscle, to improve your bone density, to make sure that your bones don't turn into chalk as you age, to put on a little bit of muscle mass so you have some durability in case you fall when you get older. You're actually going to be able to fall and not break a bone, not get bruised. Strength training and cardio, non-negotiable for your health, period, full stop. I've talked about it before. You know that's who I am. You know that's what I'm preaching. Next on the S tier list, fiber. That does tie into the first thing I talked about, healthful foods, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. But I wanted to make this a separate category because I think it's something like 95% of America doesn't eat enough fiber in a day. And that is insane to me. But I also am not surprised because the vast majority of the people I grew up with only eat vegetables if they're having a sub. Like the only time they eat a vegetable is if they have a tomato on a sandwich and lettuce on a sandwich. And I just want to say, like, grow up. You got to eat a salad. You have to have dinner with a massive side of vegetables. Brussels sprouts, peas, green beans. Lentils are a good source of fiber. Black beans are a good source of fiber. We got to have more fiber in our diet. Oatmeal for breakfast. Breakfast is a social construct, but damn, can we just have a little bit more fiber in our diet? Have some oatmeal in the morning. The health benefits of fiber are insane. I don't remember the exact stats, but eating 30 plus grams of fiber a day can reduce your risk of all-cause mortality by a sick number. So if you want to be healthy and reduce your risk of all-cause mortality, fiber is the way to go. You got to have more fiber in your diet. Women should be eating about 25 grams of fiber per day. Men should be eating about 35 grams of fiber per day. Macronutrients don't really matter that much. Yeah, you want to get your protein up. You don't have to eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight unless you're a high-level athlete. But you should be eating protein with every meal. It's going to help with muscle retention. It's going to help with bone health. It's going to help with satiety and metabolic health. But you should really be prioritizing fiber. I don't care if you only track one thing and it's fiber. See how much fiber you're eating every day. And if you're a woman and it's not at least 25 grams, and if you're a man and it's not at least 35 grams, you need to step your game up. You need to eat more fruits and vegetables. You need to eat more whole grains. And it's, again, another non-negotiable. So, fiber, S tier health. The next one's going to surprise you. Fun. You got to have fun, man. You got to have fun for your mental health. You got to have some social interaction, some social connection. And that's why I think I'm going to go and do this run club, because sometimes training gets a little bit lonely and a little bit boring. And I'm somebody who really gets hyper focused on my goals. And when I have a training program, I do not veer off that path. So it's hard for me to go and do a run with a group on Tuesday where I'm just running relatively easy, because in my head, I feel like that's not going to get me any closer to my goal, or as close to my goal as if I do a hard interval run on that same day. But the truth is, if running with a group of people rejuvenates me and makes me smile and makes me feel like I'm part of a community, then that carryover to my mental health is probably actually better for me in the long run than if I just go out to the parkway and do a super hard run by myself. And to be frank, that's what I consider myself as a coach. That's what I try to give people as a coach, is a sense of community and togetherness, and like knowing you're not alone, because you can reach out to me. We don't necessarily train together, but we can shoot the shit about your workout. We're in this together. You're not alone when you have a coach. And somebody like me who just trains with their head down by themselves pretty much 90% of the time, it gets a little lonely. So I think making sure that my workouts are fun is important. Having some social connection is important. And even doing that outside of fitness, right? Having some shared meals with people, which is why I really like to make sure that I connect with my family at least once a month. It'd be cool if we could do it a little bit more often, but as we get older, people get busy, people have kids, people have other priorities. It's really hard to get together with everybody that you want to get together with as much as you want. But I think the more you prioritize that, the more you can lower stress through enjoyment. And I think that's super important for our health. Most of our country is overworked, chronically stressed. There's a lot of shit going on in the world. I feel like we need to prioritize fun a little bit more, whether that's signing up for a Spartan race or signing up for an event. And yeah, you'll probably still take it seriously and want to do good, but when push comes to shove, you're going to get out there and you're going to be on a course and you're going to look around and you're going to be like, damn, this is fun. I'm actually enjoying myself. And, your training is going to be part of the reason that you can enjoy yourself, because you've worked so hard to be able to enjoy those moments. Well, when push comes to shove, man, if we're not having fun, then what the hell are we doing? Comes a point where you don't want to take yourself too seriously all the time, because it's exhausting. So I think that's something that was a little surprising that I just threw at you, but I also really mean it. Have some fun. Get some enjoyment in your training, some good social connection, some shared meals with your family and friends, and maybe even some shared movement. That's what I love so much when I was running the acro yoga community in Syracuse, having shared movement with a group of people. I miss that. I'm sure my wife misses that. It was so cool to just know every Tuesday night at 6:30, we're all going to share this unique form of movement and we're going to lift each other up. And it just brought fun and balance to our lives. So I think it's super important. Last but not least, sleep. Talked about this last week in the performance S tier topics. Recovery, hormones, cognitive function, long-term health. Somebody could argue that sleep should be at the top of this list. And like I said, this isn't necessarily like a 1 through 4 or 5 list. This is a all-encompassing a bunch of topics that you should focus on and prioritize to live a healthy life. But sleep is where it's at, man. You know anybody who's sleep deprived and they start to crack. Mentally, they have no energy. Physically, they have no strength. So, like I said, cognitive function, energy, it all comes back to sleep. You got to make sure that you are prioritizing quality sleep and sleep that is long enough to actually allow you to recover. Even if you don't work out super hard, that's your time to rebuild. That's your time to regroup, and it's super important. So prioritize a cool room to sleep in, or your cool house, a dark room to sleep in. Get yourself a good pillow. Get yourself a good mattress. If you don't have the ability to black out your room, get a sleep mask. If you really need to, if you sleep with somebody who snores, get some earplugs. Whatever you have to do to prioritize your sleep. Getting ideally 7 hours of sleep a night. It's a very good way to prioritize your health. I would say if you're somebody who doesn't eat fiber and you don't sleep, doing those two things could be a serious game changer for your health. All right, I'm going to make this quick. This won't be a very long episode, so if you've made it this far, I'll be done soon, and I appreciate you. F tier. Like I said, I kind of just had to pick these because I wanted something that I guess just some things that are overrated that people are trying to sell you, or people are trying to give you a hack or a quick fix. And frankly, they're bullshit. There is no quick fix. There is no hack to health. You have to eat healthy food, move regularly, sleep well, and have some damn fun. That's how you become healthy. That's how you create a healthy lifestyle. There's no quick fix. So things like extended fasts, 72-hour fast, or a multi-day fast, complete bullshit. There's a lot of talk about autophagy and the benefits of fasting for 72 hours because it increases autophagy. When you look into the science and you look into the research, you get the same thing from a regular fast while you're sleeping. So people ask me, do you fast? And I say, yes, I fast every night when I'm asleep. I sleep for 7 to 8 hours. That's my fast. And when you look at the data, when somebody is in a moderate calorie deficit, they are going to get the same benefits of autophagy as somebody who will do a 72-hour fast. So it's not the duration of the fast, it's the deficit that they're in that's going to give those autophagy benefits. And you don't have to starve yourself for 3 days to get those benefits. You will get the same, if not greater benefits, if you just do a moderate calorie deficit continuously, instead of doing a 3-day fast and then feasting every day after that because you're famished. Another one, grounding. Barefoot walking as a cure-all. It's not. Yeah, there are some definite mental benefits to just getting out in the grass and just feeling grass underneath your bare feet, especially if you're in the Northeast or any part of the country or world where it snows almost half the year. God, in the spring, if you can just go out in the grass and bare feet, it feels so good. But it's not going to make you healthy. It's not going to be a quick fix to longevity. Again, all of those benefits are wildly overblown. Is it worth it to do? Of course. Walking barefoot in the grass is going to strengthen your feet. It's going to feel good, but it's not going to be a cure-all for your health. I think I got one more. These are great. I love shitting on these. Detoxes and cleanses, juices, teas, supplements that flush your system. Not a quick fix. Very much a gimmick. Your body already has everything that it needs to detox regularly and normally. You do not need a detox or a cleanse. You do not need a juice package where you only drink this company's juice for 48 hours and now you're cleansed and clean and healthy. Bullshit. You don't need it. You need fiber. You need sleep. You need exercise. You need protein. You need fruits. You need vegetables. You need to have fun. If you made it this far, thank you very much. It's super important as somebody who makes podcasts for people to listen to the entire episode. That really helps my organic reach. So when people listen to an entire episode, it tells Spotify and Apple that that episode was entertaining and interesting, and they're going to show it to more people. Another way you can help that happen is if you haven't left a review yet, please do so. 5-star reviews only. If you have anything less than a 5-star review, just shoot me a message and let me know why and help me make better podcasts. That will be way more helpful than leaving a negative review. Thanks for listening. As always, DM me on Instagram if there's any topics that you want me to talk about at Patrick DiBello Fitness. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.